President Yamin emphasizes that sincerity is the key to reaching goals and stated that in order to attain goals, one must work together and put in collaborative efforts. Maldives expresses its solidarity with the state of Palestine and condemns the decision by the United States government to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And Democrat Doug Jones wins a bitter fight for a U.S. Senate seat in deeply conservative Alabama, dealing a political blow to President Donald Trump.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Nasma Abdul Muhsin and this is PSM News. President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum emphasizes that sincerity is the key to reaching goals and stated that in order to attain goals, one must work together and put in collaborative efforts. The President made the remarks while addressing the gathering held to inaugurate the official 2018 campaign office. President Yamin urged everyone to work towards securing a second term for him so that the development of the country would not stop and for the future of the country. President appealed to everyone to support the developmental endeavors being carried out by the administration for the betterment of all Maldivian citizens. In his remarks, the President also highlighted that the free trade agreement between Maldives and China would out the economic transformations Maldivians truly deserve. Talking about securing a second term as the President highlighted the importance of the campaign office. President Yamin thanked its solidarity government to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Speaking at the Organization of Islamic Cooperation OIC Extraordinary Summit, the head of Maldivian delegation, Minister of Housing and Infrastructure, Mohammed Muizu, said that the actions by the United States to recognize Jerusalem and its decision to relocate its embassy from Tel Aviv would have dire consequences for long-term peace, security and stability in the region. In his remarks, Minister Muizu highlighted that Muslims around the world have a deep devotion and a spiritual connection with Jerusalem, which was occupied by Israel in 1967. Minister Muizu also alluded to the fact that Israel continues to build illegal settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories, including East Jerusalem, in contravention of international law and in violation of the Fourth Geneva Convention and numerous United Nations Security Council resolutions. The minister reiterated that the Maldives has consistently supported the struggle of the Palestinian people to establish a sovereign and independent state in their homeland, with East Jerusalem as its capital. It is seek international support and recognition for a Palestinian state in all international fora and multilateral platforms. President of Turkey, Tayyip Erdogan, who chaired the meeting, called for an urgent extraordinary session at the highest level to discuss the implications to the Middle East peace process and also to the state of Palestine following the controversial U.S. decision which was taken on December 16th. The gathering of the 57 predominantly Muslim countries of the world to exclusively discuss the issue of Jerusalem was a display of unity in calling for the U.S. decision to be null and void and to take further measures to ensure that the world rejects the change in status quo and any unilateral decision on final status issues. The Maldives has always considered East Jerusalem as occupied Palestinian territory and supports the two-state solution to the question of Palestine. It reaffirms that East Jerusalem must be the capital of a future sovereign Palestinian state with secure and recognized borders based on the 1967 Green Lines. Colombo plan selects Maldives as the president of the council. Maldives was inducted as the president of Colombo Planned Council for 2017 and 2018 at the 293rd session. Maldivian ambassador to Sri Lanka Mohammed Hussein Sharif accepted the post on behalf of Maldives to serve for a 2-year term. Furthermore, Ambassador Sharif will also serve as chair of the Committee of Administrative and Financial Matters of the Council. Colombo Plan was formed in 1950, aimed to promote interest and support for the economic and social development of Asia and the Pacific, and to facilitate the transfer and sharing of the developmental experiences among member countries within the region, with emphasis on the concept of South-South cooperation. Maldivian resort chain Soneva introduces an on-site plastic recycling program. The Soneva Maker program is part of Soneva's plan to encourage guests and employees to participate in recycling initiatives, to educate younger guests about how things are made, and to emphasize the waste-to-wealth concept. Initiated in Soneva Fushi, the program will see Soneva joining Precious Plastic, which is a global initiative to increase plastic recycling by fabricating open-source machines from locally available low-cost materials. By joining Precious Plastic initiative, which has captured the imagination of people all over the world, Soneva has now become the first company in the Maldives to recycle plastic into new products. Founder and CEO of Soneva, Sonu Sivdasni, stated that the aim of the program is to change the perception of waste, noting that plastic is precious and that discarded items can be resources for a whole new range of useful products. Soneva has a target of zero waste and already recycles 90% of its solid waste, with glass, food waste, jungle trimmings and polystyrene all processed on site. Now the focus is on tackling the last 10%, which includes small amounts of plastic, paper, cloth and Tetra Pak packing. According to Soneva, the program will be extended so that Soneva resorts could recycle plastic collected from neighboring islands. Bringing together the President of France, the leaders. Minister of Environment and Energy Tariq Ibrahim participated in the One Planet Summit held in Paris as the special envoy of the President of Maldives, Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum. Maldives, as the chair of the Alliance of Small Island States, AOSIS, has been advocating for accelerated climate action and finance. On December 12th, which is the anniversary of the adoption of the historic Paris Agreement on climate change, the world met again in the French capital with the goal of fast-forwarding action on climate change. French President Emmanuel Macron arranged the One Planet conference to bring together governments, businesses and others to help find ways to meet the Paris goals. The summit showcased successful initiatives that can be scaled up with the right kind of support. 170 countries ratified the Paris Agreement, which came into force in less than a year ago, which is a modern record for such a global treaty. Maldives wins the prestigious position of world's leading honeymoon destination and world's leading dive destination at the 24th Annual World Travel Awards and Indian Ocean's Best Spa Destination at the 3rd Annual World Spa Awards, held alongside the World Travel Awards Grand Finale. Maldives competed against other world-class destinations such as Thailand, Hawaii, Mauritius, Australia, Seychelles, USA and UAE to win the titles. In addition to the destination awards, the Maldives also won the prestigious awards in various categories during the event. The awards were received by the Acting Managing Director of Maldives Marketing and Public Relations Corporation MMPRC, Haris Mohammed, at the red carpet event held at JW Marriott Emerald Bay at Vietnam. Haris Mohammed said that Maldives is thrilled and excited to have won the prestigious awards and added that winning the awards shows the admiration to what the Maldives has to offer for the visitors. He further stated that Maldives must work hard to retain and maintain its position globally. World Travel Awards brand is renowned as the Oscars of the travel industry and is recognized globally as the ultimate hallmark of quality, with winners setting the benchmark to which all others aspire. Hundreds of industry leaders from across the region and around the world in attendance at the 24th Annual World Travel Awards. The United States, European Union and Japan vow to work together to fight market-distorting trade practices and policies that have fueled excess production capacity, naming several key features of China's economic system.
In a joint statement, the three economic powers said they would work within the World Trade Organization and other multilateral groups to eliminate unfair competitive conditions caused by subsidies, state-owned enterprises, forced technology transfer and local content requirements. The move was a rare show of solidarity with the United States at a World Trade Organization meeting dominated by differences over U.S. President Donald Trump's America First trade agenda and U.S. efforts to stall the appointment of WTO judges. WTO spokesman Keith Rockwell told reporters that efforts to make progress on a ministerial statement from all 164 WTO members were unsuccessful since one country could not agree on the language. U.S. officials last month blocked WTO efforts to draft a statement of unity over the centrality of the global trading system and the need to aid development. A U.S. trade representative spokeswoman could not be immediately reached for the comment. However, the chair of the 11th World Trade Organization's Ministerial Conference, Susana Malcorra, voiced optimism for at least some consensus on the eve of the conference's final day.
A top United Nations official recounts to the Security Council the heartbreaking and horrific accounts of sexual atrocities by Myanmar soldiers against Rohingya Muslim women and urged the body to visit the region and demand an end to attack on civilians.
Special Envoy of the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres on sexual violence in conflict, Pramila Patten said one woman told her she was held by Myanmar troops for 45 days and raped repeatedly, while another woman could no longer see out of one eye after it was bitten by a soldier during sexual assault. Patten told the Security Council that some witnesses reported women and girls being tied to either a rock or a tree before multiple soldiers raped them to death.
Some women recounted how soldiers drowned babies in the village well. A few women told me how their own babies were allegedly thrown in the fire as they were dragged away by soldiers and gang raped.
Patten said the 15-member Security Council should visit Myanmar and Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh, where more than 626,000 refugees have fled to since violence erupted in Myanmar's northern Rakhine state on August 25th. She said that a Security Council resolution demanding an immediate end to violations against civilians in Rakhine state and outlining measures to hold the perpetrators accountable would send an important signal. Meanwhile, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley said the actions of the Myanmar armed forces were unacceptable.
We see an investigation by the Burmese military that denies all responsibility. This is unacceptable. Burma must allow an independent, transparent, and credible investigation into what has happened. Allowing full access for the UN fact-finding mission to gather information and evidence from the ground is vital to accountability and a solution to the crisis. We cannot allow more time to pass. There is no denying that these atrocities, include ethnic cleansing, have taken place.
Last month, the Security Council urged the Myanmar government to ease the situation temporarily, but will leave negative after effects. The two countries signed an agreement on voluntary repatriation on November 23rd. United Nations Political Affairs Chief Jeffrey Feltman pushed for the United Nations to be involved in any operation to return Rohingya.
But we again urge tangible action and implementation of these commitments. Plans alone are not sufficient. We hope Myanmar will draw upon the wealth of expertise the UN can offer.
The Syrian opposition delegation at peace talks in Geneva expressed hope that initiatives by Russia's President Vladimir Putin could help facilitate a breakthrough in negotiations.
The 8th round of intra-Syrian talks is scheduled to last until December 15th and aims at finding a political solution to the Syrian war under the auspices of the United Nations. Since early this year, Russia has pushed its own parallel track of diplomacy, bringing together Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's other main ally, Iran and Turkey, which has been one of the biggest rebel supporters. According to Russian news agencies, Putin told Syrian President Bashar al-Assad he wanted to work with Iran and Turkey to kickstart the Syrian peace process. The opposition spokesman Yahya al-Aridi said he hoped any initiatives taken by Russia were aimed at helping the Geneva process succeed after the opposition delegation bilateral meeting with the United Nations envoy Staffan de Mistura ended.
We understand that 2254 has been signed also by Russia as a permanent member in the Security Council. And we know and we hope that Mr. Putin is keen on making this process here in Geneva successful. And if there were any attempts on the part of Russia to contribute to the success of this process, we hope that this is what they are after, whether in Sochi or any other thing.
He also stressed that their understanding was that the Syrian government delegation led by Bashar al-Jafari was not interested in engaging in the political process and that they were also finding pretexts and excuses not to engage.
Democrat Doug Jones wins a bitter fight for a U.S. Senate seat in deeply conservative Alabama, dealing a political blow to President Donald Trump in a race marked by accusations of sexual misconduct against Republican candidate Roy Moore.
The stunning upset by Jones makes him the first Democrat elected to the U.S. Senate from Alabama in a quarter century and will trim the Republicans' already narrow Senate majority to 51 to 49, endangering Trump's agenda and opening the door for Democrats to possibly retake the chamber in next year's congressional elections. The ugly campaign drew national attention and split the Republican Party over accusations from several women that Moore pursued them when they were teens and he was in his 30s.
At the end of the day, this entire race has been about dignity and respect. This campaign has been about the rule of law. This campaign has been about common courtesy and decency and making sure everyone in this state, regardless of which zip code you live in, is going to get a fair shake in life.
Trump endorsed Moore even as other party leaders in Washington walked away from him, but 63-year-old former federal prosecutor Jones portrayed the campaign as a referendum on decency and promised the state's voters he would not embarrass them in Washington. 70-year-old conservative Moore, who was removed from the state Supreme Court in Alabama twice for ignoring federal law, denied the sexual allegations and said he did not know any of the women who made them.
Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says that celebrations after beating Manchester United at Old Trafford were not excessive.
British media reported that United manager Jose Mourinho was upset by the noise and behaviour of the City players, who were reported to have thrown milk and water at him following the 2-1 Premier League victory on Sunday. Mikel Arteta, who is part of City's coaching team, was also reported to have suffered a cut in the alleged incidents, and the FA has asked both clubs for their observations. Guardiola refused to comment on reports that Mourinho had entered the city's dressing room.
And after what happened, hopefully cannot happen again. And what happened, we make the statement to FA's investigation, and after they're going to decide.
So can you tell us any details of
No.
Jose Mourinho coming into the room or anything like that?
No. I'm not going to comment about that.
Guardiola said he had encouraged the players to celebrate victory, but always and only inside the locker room, and he said it was normal for teams that had won derbies to celebrate. Asked if the celebrations were too much, Guardiola said definitely not. Asked for his views on the Champions League round of 16 draw, which pits them against FC Basel in February, Guardiola said it was far away and suggested he should be asked the question again 1 or 2 weeks before the match.
And that's all we have for you right now. Thank you for watching. Have a pleasant day.